Hey everybody, how's it going out there in YouTube land and out there at Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group? So, what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of getting set up real quick because here we go. All right, so today we have a special occasion, special guest, Michael Hasso, and he is awesome guy, awesome flipper. I've had the pleasure of actually meeting him when I'm out there networking. So I really want to say thank you for him coming on. But to get things started, you are this is Real Estate Talk with Randy Stedwell. We are here on YouTube. We are also here on Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group, okay, on Facebook. So come watch us there. If you have not subscribed on YouTube, watch us on YouTube and hit a subscribe, like, all that good stuff. So with any further ado, I'm going to have Michael Hasso come bring him on, and then if you have any questions during this whole thing, ask them in the comments, put them down in the comments. We'll answer them as we go and go from there. So we bring in Michael. How's it going? Or is it Mike or Michael?
Michael.
Michael. All right. So Michael, how are you doing today? Everything good?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, just
Awesome.
staying busy. Lots of flips going right now and stuff. So
See, that's what I like to hear.
yeah,
We want to, and at some point, I don't know if you feel comfortable with breaking down a deal or anything like that. That's up to you. But I think some people would like to, whether it be a past deal that
yeah,
you no longer do anything with. So,
yeah,
it could be one of the most frustrating deals, or it could end, or the most profitable, whichever you prefer, or both.
yeah. So I've actually got two things for everyone watching today. One is going to be my worst deal ever.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then the second one will be actually a deal that I have that I'm looking to find a buyer for. So
Ah, awesome. So, all right. So let's get this started with, first off, who are you? What do you do? And, let's talk about you for a little bit before we get into how you got in real estate.
yeah, so I'm originally from like northern Michigan, Pinconning area. It's a small town just north of Bay
Okay.
City.
Gotcha.
Um, and so I grew up on a farm, stuff like that. And part of my background that I mean it kind of relates to real estate in a way, but like
Okay.
I'll say for my parents, um, they had some rentals and stuff like that, but it was more of like I'll say they were more like accidental landlords. Like
Okay.
it was houses that, you know, maybe it was like a family member that passed, or it was,
Yeah.
you know, a house that they saw a crazy deal on or whatever, those
Yeah.
sorts of things. So it was more like, accidental landlords as far as real estate goes. Um, but it definitely set the groundwork, I'll say, years before. So
That's awesome. So, your parents inherited property, you said, that's how they became landlords, kind of like accidental.
Yeah. So, um, so my dad is well, he just recently retired from farming.
Ah,
And so what has happened, at times there's, pieces of property where sometimes there's a house attached or whatever, or it's own all the farmland around and there's one house there, you know. So for various reasons they ended up picking up some, residential real estate and stuff like that.
okay.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that was like their main thing. Like for me
okay.
that's my full-time job right now, is flipping houses. And so,
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah,
So that's why we should be listening, because you're in the trenches, you're doing it, and you're out here making all the mistakes and here to tell us about it so we don't make them, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So, tell
That's
me a
why I
little
picked
bit.
my worst deal that I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk about.
exactly,
Because you always
exactly.
learn more from the worst deals than the best deals. Like,
That is,
no one really wants to go on here and hear about, like, "Oh, this best deal ever that, it was so easy and I made, whatever." Um,
yeah.
first off, I
I
don't think any deal has been easy, but,
I have
maybe that.
learned more. I have learned more than more from any from all my. I've learned at least one thing from all my deals. Even the one that went the smoothest, I also learned not to expect that. So, but for the
Yep.
most part, you have to learn something from every deal, no matter what.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So tell me a little bit about, before we get into your worst deal. Um, Tell me a little bit about, your past and how you got into real estate. Did you just wake up one day and be like, I want to start flipping houses?
No, it was a much longer journey than that. I would say the first thing that kind of really piqued my interest around real estate investing in particular was the classic answer, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Um,
Yep.
I read that when I was like end of high school, early college,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I just found it fascinating. Like, I mean, I knew from a pretty young age that I wanted to be in business, that I
Hmm.
wanted to be an entrepreneur. Um, I didn't realize it was going to be real estate.
Gotcha.
But that definitely attracted me to it and helped me to see a whole nother side of it. And I think especially like just the scalability and how the wealthy use their money and use real estate as a vehicle to grow their wealth, grow their income.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that was huge for me. But from the time I read it to the time I actually started real estate investing, it was, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so. Um, because
Okay.
I actually, I actually didn't know anyone that was doing real estate at a high level.
Okay.
Basically, everyone I knew growing up, because my parents had lots of friends that owned one or two rentals, that sort of thing,
Hmm.
which is good.
Yeah.
But, certainly not something that you can live off or become like, really wealthy if you just having 2 or 3,
Yeah.
you know?
You're
So,
not gonna get you're not gonna get rich off of one or two rentals.
yep,
I don't care where you are, what you're doing. You're not gonna get
yeah,
rich off of one or two rentals. So.
yeah, unless it's a massive multifamily or 2, then,
And even
hey,
then, you're not going to get rich. You'll just be able to live off of it, you know?
yep, yeah,
So,
exactly. So, that was like, I think that was like the big turning point for me in reading that
yep.
book, and kind of like sowed the seed for later, is
Okay.
that I realized, oh, this can be done at a much higher level.
Yeah.
And so somewhere in between there, my investing journey actually started with stock investing, um,
Okay.
which is probably unusual. I haven't really heard any other real estate investor that said that personally.
Well, technically, I kind of did that. I started
Okay.
with stocks before I got into real estate.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now I lost a lot of money in stocks and then got into real estate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, yeah, for me, so I got started investing in stocks, and I was just interested in investing in general. How do I grow my
Yep.
money? How do I multiply it? How do I um, buy back my freedom? You know?
Yeah. Yes.
And so, like, I did pretty well with stock investing, and it's something I still enjoy.
Hmm.
But one of the things that was key for me in making my decision to pursue real estate was, one, I was listening to, like some of the best stock investors that I knew, just kind of like how people follow like Warren Buffett or,
Yep.
stuff like that, high level investors. And they were all saying how, like, well, yeah, I do stocks, but like I invest in real estate. Like I
Hmm.
do stocks, but I have apartment buildings or, whatever. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's interesting. So all these like top notch stock investors, they're all also in real estate. And I was like,
Yep.
but they're doing really well in the stock market. So why would they be in real estate? So it like got me thinking. And I actually saw this very interesting article where it had like the average returns over like 150 years
Okay.
comparing real estate to stocks.
Okay.
150-year average. Guess what? Real estate won.
100%. Yes.
Real estate averaged, I think, 1 or 2% more over that time on average, which
Yeah.
means like, if you ever look at any of those graphs that like, a financial advisor, 401k, whatever, that they
Yep.
show, but like if you compare those returns and you adjust it by 1% up or down over the long haul, that can make the difference of millions, you
Yeah.
know? So anyway, all of these things were kind of going through my mind. So I was just like really interested in investing, and real estate
Hmm.
was kind of like the next step. It was kind of uncharted territory for me.
Okay.
And I was really, really interested. So I started, you know, sort of looking for opportunities as far as like, okay, well, where do I start? Like I didn't like I had never heard of wholesaling.
Gotcha.
Basically,
Okay.
the only thing that I really knew of in real estate was either landlord for like single family or flipping, but I
Yeah.
didn't know anyone that was flipping. I knew some people that had single family, but it wasn't like scaled by any means.
Yep.
And I didn't know anyone that had any large multifamily. So I had like almost no connection really to real estate.
Right.
Um, so that was an interesting journey in itself. And so, but anyway, so my wife and I though both had a desire to pursue real estate. Her parents as well, like kind of dabbling in the small multifamily and stuff like that.
Yep.
And so anyway, somewhere along the way, we ended up attending a real estate seminar. Ended up basically how we got into real estate was through the Rich Dad Education Company.
Hmm.
And so, we went through that, and honestly, it was just great. Like we learned a lot in a very short period of time.
So,
Um,
so at the Rich Dad, education community, that now, right now, I know, like, he made a whole business out of that book and
yeah,
his whole series. Like, he made a huge, he still does it today. Robert Kiyosaki as the Rich Dad podcast.
yep,
Um, you know, so he's constantly out there, and I have a small little YouTube channel. But if for some reason he's watching, I'd love to have you on here, Robert. Robert
yeah,
Kiyosaki. Yeah. But
yep.
it changed your life. So that book and his education really changed your life.
Yeah, because like I mean, there's a lot of different pathways that people take into real estate, but like I don't necessarily think this is the right path for everyone, but for me,
Yep.
it's worked out pretty well just because, like I said, I didn't have any connection. I didn't have
Right.
any connection to real estate. I literally had no idea what wholesaling was. And now I'll like run into people that are at their first like real estate meetup or whatever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've wanted to wholesale for years." And I'm like, "How have you even heard of wholesale?" Because that it was just like so far removed from
Yeah.
my experience. because I didn't have any connections.
Yeah, so if I would known about wholesaling, I would have gotten to real estate a long time ago. And I was like you, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when, just got out of high school and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I thought I needed a bunch of money in order to get into real estate. And so I was, obviously working the grind and doing all that. And
Yep.
then it wasn't until after COVID, once COVID hit and everything, I started learning about I started actually just before that, and I started to try to figure out like what can I do to get into start doing flips, and that's how I came across wholesaling.
Yep.
So it's crazy. And I'm like, I can actually do this with very little, you know.
Yep.
It's nuts. So
Yep.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt or take the spotlight
No,
from you,
no.
but
That's I mean, like I said, I would as far as especially real estate goes,
yeah,
like I was at square one.
yeah,
Like if you just consider like anyone here that's even heard of wholesaling before, you're like
yeah.
3 steps ahead of where I was. So,
Okay.
yeah, the idea of wholesaling was a very novel concept, and I was like, "That sounds awesome." So that was
And
actually where I started.
what
Uh,
year was this?
um, let's see, I've been in real estate a little over 3 years, so it was
Okay.
like when it was 2019.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So just before COVID started.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was yeah, not long before COVID. Yeah.
All
Um,
right.
and and so, um, anyway, like, uh, where I started was wholesaling.
Okay.
So, I heard this, this whole concept laid out, and I was like, "This sounds awesome," right? And
Hmm.
so I promptly start marketing.
Yep.
Um, you know, I think, the first one that we got a hit on was a Craigslist ad that we did.
Okay.
Craigslist really does work. This deal, by the way, did not work out for us, but it was our first one, like, under contract, and I honestly, the big thing was we took action, like, right away.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
we went out and we started marketing. Um,
So wait a minute. You did not spend a year just watching YouTube and watching people do their stuff and
no,
just like, okay, how do you do that? And wait until you get everything perfect before you
yeah,
actually took action.
no,
See,
no, we got
anybody out there watching, take action. That's how you're going to learn. You can learn a little bit here, then take action. Learn a little bit,
yeah,
take action. If you
yeah,
just try to get everything and try to get everything perfect, it's not going to happen.
yeah,
Okay. You're going to make mistakes. Sorry to interrupt, but it was
absolutely.
just,
No,
yeah.
that's I talk to new investors all the time, like, at meetups and stuff like that,
Yep.
and I hear people saying stuff like, "Oh, well, I gotta get my entity set up first," and stuff like that, and I'm not here to give legal advice, but
Yep.
I will say that you don't need an entity or a bank account for that entity until you have a deal. Like, until you're bringing in money, like, you know,
Yep.
so and not to say it's not important, and I'm not saying to, like, put it off by any means, um, but I am saying that, like, your first priority is really marketing, and how do I get a deal? And,
Yes.
you can be setting up that other stuff while you're doing that, but
Yep.
priority number 1 is marketing. And so yeah, we took action pretty quickly. I mean, I would say from the time where we, like, made the decision of, like, "Okay,
Yep.
we're doing this," uh, it was we were probably marketing within, like, a month, maybe.
Okay.
And mind you, like, 30 days prior to that, prior to when
Yep.
we made the decision, I was still at the point that I had never heard of wholesaling.
Okay.
So, That
So,
wasn't what.
so
That
okay,
wasn't.
hold on.
Oh, I'm
You gotta.
talking like 30 years ago.
Okay, so you were trying to get a deal, but you didn't know what wholesaling was.
No, so when we first started like actively pursuing deals, I knew what wholesaling was.
Okay, all
But
right.
I had just learned about it like 7 days ago. You know?
Hey,
So,
try by fire. That's
yep,
it, you know. And just like the Julie here says, just get the deal. Just get that
yep,
deal. So
absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, so
So
so we started marketing. We got our hit off of a Craigslist ad, and it was a pretty good one in some ways. So um, the motivation for the seller was it was like probate.
mhm.
Uh, I want to there was like some financial issues. I want to say there it was um, maybe I think they were approaching foreclosure as well. Um,
Okay.
they had multiple things going on that would make them motivated to sell.
Yep.
Now, one thing that didn't work out so well for us was it wasn't a great area. It wasn't a terrible area, but the property values weren't very high. Um, like to the point where I think ARV was probably best case scenario like 20,000 or something.
Okay. So
But that was
was this
what.
in the area where you grew up, or was this
No,
still
this
over here this area?
this was in Flint.
In Flint. Okay.
Yeah, um so anyway, we drove there, got the contract, got things going, like learned all of this. This was all like great training
Hmm.
for future deals because we got our contract in place. We got figured out how to fill it out, lead them through that process, build trust and
Yep.
rapport with the seller, all of that stuff. So we get it under contract, super excited. We don't have any buyers, by the way. That and
Of
if
course,
I
you're
was
seven
to,
days in. You
yeah,
know.
no, I know. But if I was to like start over again, start with the buyers.
Yeah.
Start with the buyers, find out where they're buying, reverse engineer it. But that's not what we did. So we got this deal from a Facebook ad or from a Craigslist ad, and we start marketing to try and get this sold. We get title work going and stuff like that. And that was a real learning process. So this whole deal, we had it under contract for like 6 months. That is
Wow.
not normal, not advised.
No.
And I know that you, Randy, as a wholesaler,
Yep.
know how much must have been going wrong for us to
Yeah.
have that in 6 months.
Now I've
So,
had that happen to me before. I have
yeah.
had a
No,
house under contract for
it
6 months.
happens, but
Yeah.
it was also our first deal. But
Yeah.
let's just or our first contract, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Since we
Well,
didn't
see,
we didn't
most of the
finish.
time, if you have it for 6 months, you usually don't close on the deal. The
I
one that
know.
I had, the
Yeah.
one that I had for 6 months, I ended up closing on the deal.
Yeah.
So
In
it was
fact,
a probate issue.
this was a probate issue as well. Yeah. So I brought it to our title company that they work with a lot of investors. They've kind of seen everything. They do all the creative stuff that we're looking for
Yep.
as investors. And I brought it to the title agent, and he was like, "This is the most complicated title work I've seen in 15 years." And I was like,
you,
"Well, lucky me." So
you never want to hear that.
basically, what happened was there was a dead guy on title, which is never fun.
No.
Um, it needed to go through probate, but it hadn't yet. Don't know
Okay.
how. I don't know, it was like the probate court missed it or something, but, like,
Okay.
nobody was aware that it needed to go through probate because there was still a living owner, on title
Gotcha.
and stuff.
Yep.
So we were going through all of this stuff. There was, by the way, another guy on title who was in prison. Um, it was just like it was one mess after another. But like I said, learned a
Wow.
lot. Probably my biggest mistake in that deal in particular was letting it go on so long.
Yeah.
Which it's hard because it's like when you have like even 3 months invested into,
Yeah.
a property under contract and stuff like that, it's like, man, you don't want to let that go. But then I
No.
was like, I wasted like another 3 months consumed by this and didn't get get the deal done.
Yeah.
So that was a learning lesson. One other lesson for that for viewers as well. What I learned from that experience was when I in that case at least, yours worked out obviously, but in
Yeah.
this case, I wish I had let it go sooner.
Yep.
And then the other thing was I shouldn't have been so focused on one deal.
Hmm.
If you want to make certainly if you want to make a living in this business, but especially if you're even just trying to make good consistent money in real estate,
Hmm.
you have to have multiple irons in the fire. You
Yes.
have like
Yes.
you
Yeah.
got to
You.
have multiple contracts, you got to have multiple deals going, stuff like
Yep.
that. But everyone starts somewhere. So it's like once you
Yep.
get something, okay, great, manage that deal, but don't give it your full attention until you know it's something.
Well,
Just keep it moving
even
along,
when
do
it.
the right things, find more
Yeah.
deals.
Even when it is something, the thing is, it's all about time management. You know, so
Yep.
you've got to allocate, okay, these are my current deals, these are my follow-ups. I'll spend this amount of time with the current deals, spent this amount of time with the follow-ups, and spent this amount of time getting new leads, you know.
Yep.
So once you hit that, like, you got to move on, you know.
Yep.
Okay, great, I'll follow up with you next week. End the
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
That's it.
And actually, this deal wouldn't have been so bad, like you just said, if I had done better, which it's hard to do on your first deal because everything's new.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if I had managed my time a little bit better of just like not devoting so much time to it before I had reasonable certainty
Yes.
that we could get this done,
Yep.
that would have helped too.
That
So,
is one of the top mistakes that I
learning.
see. That's one of the top mistakes I see new people doing with not just wholesaling, but real estate in general, is they concentrate so much on just one deal. And whether that goes through or that falls through, now they don't have another deal right after that. And now it took them, say, 5 months to get that deal done. And now they spent during that 5 months, they didn't spend getting new deals. So now they got to spend another 2 to 3 months trying to find another deal, and versus trying to feed the wheel, you know.
Yeah,
So because most of
absolutely.
your good leads come up from through the follow ups. They don't, like, even if you cold call, most of your leads or most of your deals, they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to sell it. Give me exactly what you want, and you know what? We'll close next week." Doesn't
Yeah.
work, you know.
Yeah. Like I've had sellers call me back that I dropped them a mailer, just like a postcard or whatever,
Yep.
and they called me back like literally over a year later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the key is it's like one of my mentors said to me one time that in your business the magic really starts happening when you're doing it all.
Yep.
Like you have to do it all at the same time. So like just as a for instance with flipping, it's like we're always looking for sellers. We're always managing deals. We're always raising money. So
Yep.
that's one of the key things that's allowed me to scale pretty quickly in a short period of time is that I raise capital. So like we have over $2 million in assets under management right
Right.
now, and none of that is our money.
Wow.
So, by the way, if anyone has money that they're looking to put to work, please reach out. I'll give my contact info later in the
Yeah,
show.
most definitely. So,
But yeah,
hey,
so yeah, that was like that was a pretty transformational thing for me too, because like
okay.
I was really set like down the wholesaling path, and
Yep.
partly because I thought to myself, well, I don't really have like that kind of cash laying around to just like buy a house, renovate it. It's like do all of that just
Yeah.
cash. Um, and who wants to go through that many like mortgages and stuff like that?
Oh,
But
yeah, no.
yeah, that's not a very scalable route. Like if you want to flip one or two houses, that okay, that can work for you. But to like build a business around it, not scalable.
Yeah.
But one time I was in a mastermind group. Basically, if you're not familiar, it's just like a group of investors helping each other to better their businesses. And one guy said to me about house flipping, he was like, if you do it right, house flipping can be cheaper than wholesaling.
Interesting.
And his point with this was that if you raise capital,
Okay.
it it takes less of your money because you can't raise capital for marketing.
Yeah.
So I just share that because like that was transformational for me.
hmm
So I really lean heavily into raising capital. I'm always looking for money for future deals. I'm always looking for
Yeah.
lenders, etc.
So tell me this. When you first got into wholesale, did you just go straight into full time? What were you doing while you were trying this wholesaling thing?
Yeah, so I was working full time in ministry. So
Okay.
I did college campus ministry. Um,
Okay.
so I wasn't normally when I say ministry, everyone asks me like, "Were you a pastor?" No, I didn't do any of that. I was working on college campuses, doing things like just helping college students to grow in their faith, basically.
Gotcha.
Things from Bible study to you know different outings or group gatherings, things like that. So
Gotcha. Okay. 100%. Yeah, it's crazy that you went from that to wholesaling, which there's an ethical way to do wholesaling,
yeah,
but wholesaling in general has a bad rap, you
yeah,
know, and everybody thinks that we're trying to get something over on the seller, and we're trying to steal all their equity and so on and so forth, and it's not. It's I I truly am out there as a wholesaler to help these homeowners if they want to sell. If they don't, great, I'll move on to the next person, you
yeah,
know? And I tell this to everybody, I'm not here to convince anybody to sell,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Cash deals, like everyone, especially for the past 2 years, every seller has thought they want cash deals,
Yep.
but in reality, like in a normal market, in today's market, if you're getting a cash deal, it's at a significant discount.
Correct. Yep.
And so, like, it's not for everyone. Like,
No.
what I guess what wholesalers are offering, that's not for everyone. In fact, I would say it's probably not even for most people. Like,
Right.
as a wholesaler, you're talking to a large volume of people and trying to find those people with a particular need that you can meet with a cash offer.
Correct.
And so
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, and this is part of why, like, it didn't even cross my mind that wholesaling would be unethical.
Hmm.
Um, just because, like, it meets a need. Like, if you've ever met
Yep.
a person that, like, truly needs to sell their house yesterday,
Yep.
it's like, what is the right thing to do to not make an offer and make them sit
Hmm.
on it for another 30, 60, 90 days plus?
Yep.
Especially in this market, it's like, if somebody really needs to sell, good luck getting it even under contract in under 30 days in most markets.
Right.
So,
You know, and that's the thing. Like, I had somebody reach out to me about wanting to buy their house in Detroit,
yeah,
and she wanted close to, you know, it's still a discount from retail, but pretty close to it. And I had to be honest with her. I said, "You're going to get the most amount of money by putting it up on the market and seeing what you can get."
yeah,
Okay. Um, this is the price where I would have to pay, and I work with other investors, and that's the reason why. And I was completely
yep,
transparent with, they pay me my fee and so on and so forth. And she was happy that I was open, honest, and transparent with her. You
yeah,
know, I told her that she could, call me anytime if she has any questions, but honestly, this is my recommendation. But with that, you can take, uh, we were talking about sub two deals, talking this. I told her, I was like, it all depends on your end goal, what you want to do, you know. So, do you want to go find a place and rent? Then maybe you know what, you can get a little bit more money on seller finance and just get some
yeah,
money coming in. If not, if you need the money to try to buy a new place, then
yeah,
on market deals, that's where you go, you know? So, yeah.
yeah. It's definitely it's a it's a good it's a good place to start. It's a good place to learn the business. I'm
Yep.
really glad I started wholesaling. And actually, what you were saying, you reminded me of what I found to be a very useful technique for, like, working with people looking to sell their house. Because
Mhm.
somebody said to me just what you're saying right now, of like, just be transparent with sellers.
Yep.
And so, like, I was like, oh, is it really that easy? Not that I was hiding anything before.
No, yeah.
It's just like, sometimes you got to be careful just to not talk too much.
Yep.
and and so somebody said that to me, and I was like, oh, is it really that easy? And so the next time I was talking to a seller, which was probably a few days later, I was like, they're like, yeah, I want a cash offer. I need to sell and stuff like that. And I was like, are you sure? Like, just so you know, I'm gonna get this under contract for a much lower price. I'm gonna sell it for a much higher price than what you're willing to sell it to me. And I'm not really going to have to buy this. Like, I
Yeah.
forget exactly what I said, but I
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like laid it out there,
Yep.
almost trying to convince them not to sell it. And they're
Yep.
like, yeah, that's cool. They're like, okay.
Wow. Yeah, because the
I'm
thing
like,
is they want
okay.
speed. They want speed and convenience. They don't want to have to do anything. They don't want to have to run, go on the MLS, have an open house, and then wait and see. You know,
Yeah.
they don't want any of that. I was talking with a realtor the other day, an old realtor of mine before I got into real estate. Uh, you know, and I told him I've been doing this for about 2 years. He goes, "Oh, do you have your license?" I go, "No, I don't."
Yeah.
Oh, and you haven't got sued yet? And I'm like, "No, I have a business. I have an LLC." Oh, that doesn't save you, and that doesn't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does, but, you can keep thinking what you're thinking. You're a typical
Yeah.
agent that, you
Yeah.
know,
That's
doesn't
hilarious.
wanna do anything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I know I'll eventually have to get my license because laws will eventually go that way, but at this
Yeah.
time, I don't need to, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah.
uh,
Same with me. I haven't gotten licensed either. Um, Not against it, but I see plenty of opportunities. Like I'll say for my part, I see the value of partnering with other people. And
yes.
if that can bring, the right person into my network that's, like, willing to work with me because, "Hey, I'm not a competing realtor."
Yep.
Like, I mean, I know plenty of investors that are realtors that still, work with other agents and
Yep.
stuff like that. But I think there's something that's not super helpful, like a mindset that we can get that I see with investors that are licensed where it's like, well, why do I need anyone else? Like, why would I need
Oh,
any
yeah.
other realtor and stuff like that? And I just think that's a very like naive perspective, to be
Yep.
honest. Because it's like even the most novice realtor comes across crazy deals. Like I literally
Yep.
I just so here's one of the benefits that I've found of um not getting my license. So I have a realtor that I've built a really good relationship with.
Mhm.
We've bought a number of houses off the MLS that we flipped. Um, and so I just got a call and he had a sub 2 deal for me.
Okay,
That
wow, yeah.
that was MLS listed.
That
So
that's that's usually unheard of.
yeah, yeah, and if you're not familiar with sub 2, anyone watching, it's a technique of seller financing, just to keep it simple.
Right.
Um, so, um, and it's a very I would say, like, being able to structure a deal in that way is, like, pretty sought after by, anyone who knows what it is. And so
Mhm.
he found through another realtor an MLS listed property. The person's motivated to sell and they're looking to sell sub 2.
Okay.
Like they offered to me.
Yeah, so it's not like you went in there and be like,
Yeah.
"Listen, I can't come up to your price, but if we can make terms," and you had to try to convince them and figure out
Yeah.
what that is. That's usually what we have to do, you
Yep.
know?
And so
So
just just think though, like if I if I had went the route that so many people do, where they're like, "Oh, well, I'll just get my license, and why do I need to work with any other realtors?" You know?
right,
If I went that route, I would have never heard about that deal.
exactly. I love working with people, whether you're new or whether you're experienced. I actually think with you being super experienced, if you are not open-minded, it is a detriment to your business.
Yeah.
Okay. If you think, oh, you've only been in the business for a year and I don't want to work with you, that 100% a detriment to your business. You are losing business.
Yep.
Okay.
You have to
I,
think outside the box. You have to
yes.
be intentionally marketing yourself and your business.
Yep.
And actually, networking pro tip that I'll just share just as a
Yeah.
freebie for everyone. When I'm networking, like when I'm at especially real estate networking events and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
what you'll often find in like decent sized groups, you'll find like kind of the people that everyone wants to talk to, whether it's the
Hmm.
speaker or or whatever,
Yep.
like people that are there all the time that everyone knows. You get those people, and then you get the clear newbies.
Yep.
I avoid the people that are there every time, and I seek out newbies.
Yeah.
Now, my reason for that is because those newbies, at least some of them will eventually end up doing deals. Some of them will maybe even eventually build sizable businesses and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And if I make first contact with them, and if I'm able to help them in some way,
Yep.
Guess who they're going to bring a deal that they need a partner on, you know?
100%. And you
So
never know because they might be there because they have a deal to sell already, you know?
exactly. So I had in another interesting story. This exact situation, I was at a real estate meetup. I saw an older gentleman who was clearly new, like it was
Okay.
definitely first time there, for sure.
Okay.
Like you could spot him.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went up and I talked to him immediately, and uh, and as I started talking to him, it turns out he was there because he had some money that he wanted to put to work in real estate,
Gotcha.
you know? And so I forget how much he said. I think he said he had like 250,000 cash that he
Okay.
was like that he was looking to put to work. And it's like, especially if you structure it right, it's like that could be enough for 3 flips, you know?
Right.
If you work it properly with like hard money or, whatever else, um, that could secure 3 deals. And if all 3 of those you could make, 25,000 profit, that's pretty good. Like
Oh,
that could have been a very valuable conversation.
oh yeah, because the thing is, think of it this way, you're going to make a 25 grand profit on there. He's going to come home with a what, 10% interest, more than he's going to make in the stock market, you
Yeah,
know, and he's going to be happy and want to give you more money, you know.
yep,
So, and it's just like Julie said, they called an agent tonight to see if they want to do seller financing on their on their listing, and he said, mind you, I have no idea what I'm doing, you know. And that's
yeah.
the thing, you just have to check it out. Now, he just said that, but they wanted to roll it into a 1031 exchange, so they didn't want to do that. But if you don't ask, you don't know.
Oh, here's a pro negotiating tip. I love when I know people are doing 1031 exchange.
Yeah.
Your options can be limited, so you can end up having to do cash or something.
Yep.
By the way, Julie, you can feel free to reach out because I do have funds available and stuff. But one of my pro tips is like when you come across somebody doing a 1031 or wanting to do a 1031, they're
Hmm.
very motivated
Yeah.
because very likely by the time they're either in a situation and they don't want you to know this. They don't
Yeah.
want you to know how motivated they are. But very often they've already identified a property that they want to purchase
Yeah.
or
And
are
they're on a time limit.
yeah, there I think it's like a 45-day time limit or something like that. And so like, you know, there's I'll just say there's more motivation than they will let on with a
Gotcha.
1031. So um I found that to be like pretty good where you can work out some good deals with 1031 sellers.
So I guess Julie knows you because she said, "Okay, great, I have your card." So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I thought I knew who that was.
so
Awesome.
that, and she said that that's exactly what the agent said. So she was so nice. But
Oh,
now
that's good.
there is a way that you can do a seller finance with a 1031 exchange. Now, I'm not well versed in it. I just know that there is a way you can do
Yeah.
that. So keep that in mind. There are just not a lot of people know about that.
Yeah.
So, um, you
Well, and
know,
I'll just give you a for instance of a recent deal that I was working on. It was a portfolio deal, and the seller initially wanted to do a 1031.
yeah,
And so I assumed, like, I gave him 3 offers. One was cash, well, really a bank offer, and
yep,
then the other 2 were, creative.
Yep.
And so I figured, oh, for sure they're gonna wanna go after the cash offer. So I made it,
Yeah.
like, pretty low, like
Yeah.
like, probably barely tolerable low. And they actually were more interested in the creative.
Mm.
And I think part of the reason for that was because although people that have a significant amount of their net worth in real estate, they've probably heard of 1031 exchanges and they're like, "Oh yeah, that would be awesome to do that." But if they're not aware of creative financing techniques,
Right.
well, you might not realize that, okay, well, I can actually lock in the price that I want right now
Yep.
and get that money out at a later time. Obviously, in that situation, um, in your typical seller financing situation, that doesn't necessarily allow for a 1031,
Right.
but it does allow them to lock in the price they want.
Hmm.
So, it's like, especially right now, I would think people that have significant portfolios, if they're looking to sell like anytime in the next, you know, 5 or more years,
Yeah.
I would think that they're fairly motivated right now.
Yeah. So I've actually came across this one. I talked to this one, this one seller, and they said, I told them, I said, you know, usually I try to do a 0% interest for creative. And she goes, well, why? When, banks are giving, they're 6, 7% right now. I said, that's exactly why. You're concentrated more on the price, right? And I asked him that. I'm like, you want to hit that certain price, right? You just don't care about what you need it right now. Is that correct, or is that not correct? And they're like, yeah, yeah, I need to get this, whatever price. I said, okay, this is what my cash offer would be, and it's like 70% below that, you know, and I'm like, but if we were to do creative and go on terms, then if we do it 0% interest, I'm building in that interest with the extra price.
Yep.
It's not a I'm going, I'm going to pay that bigger price and then I'm going to pay another 5, 6, 7% interest on top. Why would I do that? I can just go get a bank loan for that, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah,
So,
and that's the other thing too is like, and I think people 6 months ago, people didn't understand this, but I think probably a lot of people are starting to understand this, that, like,
yep,
as interest rates rise, prices go down.
yep,
Like, what people have the ability to afford drops as interest rates rise. So, typically, rising interest rates, prices are lower. Lower interest rates,
yep.
prices are higher. So it's in a way, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, as
100,
far as like
100%.
holding it.
Yeah.
So
So, Caleb actually asked this question. Can you offer a creative option on homes that need renovations, or do they typically look more move-in ready properties? And,
yeah,
I'll let you answer that.
yeah, you can absolutely do creative financing on properties that need renovation. For instance, sub two,
Yep.
that's a great form of seller financing. Basically, the key, excuse me, the key with sub two is that you get the deed. So like you become
Mhm.
the owner, but their mortgage stays in place.
Right.
And so in that situation, it is your home and
Yep.
you are making that mortgage payment. And by the way, that mortgage payment, even at even at today's interest rates, like even if somebody got a mortgage in the last like 3 or 6 months and it's like 5, 6%,
Hmm.
that's still going to crush hard money.
Yes.
You know? So, even in those situations, it can still make sense. It's all about opportunity cost, which is just the
Yep.
idea of like, what are you giving up? So it's like how I look at seller financing is if I was to go out and get funding for this property. And that's whether it's hard money, bank financing, capital that I've raised, etc. I'm looking at what's the cost of that money.
100%.
So it's going to be anywhere from, for me, 6 to 12%. That's like my range. And so, if I'm entering into especially a short-term deal that I'm going to flip, and if I'm able to get it sub 2, that can work out great. Similarly,
Yep.
if you get, and this is what I would say, this is probably the most common like exit strategy if you get a seller finance deal, is you're often not getting creative financing to flip the house and just sell it and exit right away. Oftentimes you're getting creative financing and you want to stay in that deal as long as possible. And the reason being, because then you get good terms locked in, and you want to let inflation take care of the rest. And you make more money from the appreciation, hopefully increasing rents, tax benefits, etc.
And that's where you got to make sure you cash flow. And this is where a lot of people with the creative deals, it's funny because I come across some creative deals where they're like, okay, 20% down, 6% interest rate, and and you're paying this higher price. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
I won't do there's no point in doing anything for 20% when I can go get a bank loan for right around the same amount, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you have to look over again your opportunity cost, exactly what you said. You have to look over the opportunity cost. And when you're doing a burr, when you're doing or just renting it out, say it's a rent ready property. I had so I almost did a deal where, it was a basically rent ready. Just a few things need to be tidied up, maybe a backsplash replaced or whatever, and that's about it, and it was a creative deal. And I had to come across, I looked at it and we're going to make, it was like going to be like $200 to $300 in cash flow.
Yeah.
Well, I made the mistake of not uncapping the taxes. And even though it would have been a land contract, the taxes will still be uncapped. So I had to now calculate in the new taxes, and I didn't calculate in vacancy. So now I had to do that. It went from $200 to $300 a month in cash flow to a negative almost $100 a month.
Yep.
After you figured everything out. And so I had to go back to him and say, unfortunately, it's not going to work. He was dead set on, he wanted the interest rate as well as the price. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this
No, that
is
doesn't
the
work.
way to go. Yeah.
It's like when you're talking creative financing, you have price, interest rate, term, and
Down payment.
Down payment. Yeah. And like what I tell sellers that I'm dealing with, I'm like, you can pick one and I'll get the other 3.
Yep.
And typically, like you said, in these situations, it's typically somebody that's dead set on price.
Yep.
But yeah, if somebody's trying to get, an extra one of the terms in their favor, like it really can't be 50-50. Otherwise it just makes no sense. You are setting yourself up to lose money.
Yeah.
Almost guaranteed. You have to get the other 3 if you're giving them one of the terms. And if they're like, "Oh, well, I want to get, an awesome interest rate." Okay, well then your price goes down.
Yep.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Yep.
So
yeah,
you got 100%.
100%. So now so you went from ministry to trying to do wholesaling. when did you go from wholesaling into fix and flip? Now, you said you came across where, um, was he your mentor or was he just
He was a friend.
a friend of yours? Okay,
Yeah,
and
he
told
was
you
like,
about private money.
yeah, yep. He was a part of a mastermind that I was a part of.
Gotcha. Okay,
Um, that I was connected to because of my mentor. Um,
gotcha.
but yeah, I always make a point of mentioning that comment just because it totally changed the direction that I was headed. Because
Right.
before I was like, I love the idea of wholesaling, but like, just to be frank, and I don't say this lightly because I
Yep.
have had and do have so many headaches with flipping, but
Yep.
flipping is way easier. Like,
You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because you know what you're getting yourself into. You can
yeah,
pick and choose your deals, and
yeah,
you know what you're going to be able to come across. You have that deal for 2, 3 months, however long you're working on that, you know, and you know roughly what you're going to be getting at the end. Now, obviously, things can change and
yeah,
markets fluctuate and stuff like that. But as long as you bake that in, like, okay, this is as long as we stick to our budget, and we'll make a roundabout profit,
yeah,
And I understand where you're coming from on that because yeah, like as me wholesaling as well, like I kind of wish I was flipping right now, to be honest. I just don't have the funds to be able to flip.
yeah,
And, you know, so that's kind of the key thing. So I'm happy that you're saying that it's easier because I do want to get into a flip.
yeah,
I do.
yeah,
That's actually one of my goals. Is I want to do a creative deal this year, and I want to do a flip this year.
yep,
So now whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. But I'm putting it out there in the universe to see if I can, you
yeah,
know. So uh,
absolutely.
yeah. Now, so you came across that, your friend told you about the flips being easier. So how did you first start getting into flipping, and did you start off with your own money at first?
No, I didn't. I've actually never used my own money for flipping.
Okay, jealous. I want to get with you
Um,
on how to do
yeah,
that.
we can talk.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that kind of like opened my mind up to the concept, and because
Okay.
of that, like up to that point, I'd always felt like flipping or other things, I felt like they were kind of off limits
Yep.
because I didn't have the straight up cash to just drop on a
Yep.
property, you know. And so anyway, I share that because I want to see more people starting with their first deal as a flip, you know, because
Hmm.
it's so doable.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I so it was kind of a logical
Now,
transition with how it
now, real quick before everybody starts doing that, I just want to emphasize this one thing. I know you want them to go start off with a flip, but I recommend for people to start wholesaling before they flip. And
yeah,
there's one reason why. You get to know if you do it right and you start talking with your buyers and you start learning from your buyers, you get to know the rehab costs a
yeah.
lot better. And
Well,
that's
not
where
just the
most
rehab
people,
costs, you
yeah,
get to know the areas.
yes,
That's the key. Like,
yeah,
at least for me, that was like
yeah,
once I found, like, it took me a long time to find, but once I found where other people were flipping,
yep,
then I was in business. Then I
yeah.
then
So,
you start looking at higher quality deals where there's enough meat on
yep,
the bone to make some money and stuff like that. So,
100%. And that's where, if you're a wholesaler just going through the motions, I'm going to tell you, you are doing yourself a disservice. You need to talk to your buyers. You need to see what their renovation costs are. Now, everyone's renovation costs are different because you may hire, this a crew to be able to do all your stuff. Another person says, or hire a crew with a general contractor. Another person says, okay, I just sub everything out, so now they can take the general contractor price right out. Okay. And then another person will do it themselves. It'll take longer, but it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So the more you know exactly what things cost and what way you're going to go, okay, I think the
Yeah.
better you become as a flipper, as a wholesaler,
Yeah.
all around in
Well,
real estate.
and something I'll say too is like wherever you start, those two paths, they really look, especially at the beginning, they look pretty
Yep.
much the same.
Yes.
Because no matter what, it all starts with marketing
Yep.
because you got to find a deal. And by marketing, it doesn't have to be mailers, but I do
Hmm.
think like that's a really good thing for people to get their feet wet with and start learning that world. Um,
Yeah.
as far as getting into other paid channels, you don't have to start there. You can find deals for free, like on Facebook.
Yep.
I found deals on Facebook. Um,
100%.
but yeah, it really should look pretty much the same because you start off marketing, you get something under contract, and you know, just at least from my experience, what really happens is you get several things under contract, you don't get them closed, but you learn from each of those. That was
Yep.
my that was my journey. Like I
Okay.
maybe not everyone's as slow of a learner as I am, but
Yeah.
it took me a lot of like get them under contract, pretty soon through this whole process, especially wholesaling, but once I got more into flipping, now I
Hmm.
can get my whole due diligence done in like less than 24 hours from getting a
Right.
property contract. I can get my inspector, contractors, if I need subcontractors, like if I need to get a quote from mechanical, electrical, whatever,
Yep.
if I need to, there's something weird in there and I need to get a specialist in there. Okay, well then I get them in and I can have that all happen within 24 hours.
And that's great. And it's because also your costs of things as well. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah,
um,
that helps too, is like I get
yeah,
better at estimating and stuff like that. But
exactly. So that's the thing. Like as a wholesaler myself, and I come to you with a deal, and I talk to you, be like, hey, you got this flip. Okay, it's in your general area as far as price wise. You know, we talk, and you're like, hey, I need to be. This doesn't work for me at your price, but I need to be here. You
yeah,
know, okay, great. That is awesome feedback.
yeah,
Okay. If I'm not getting any offers at the price that I want,
yeah,
then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to you before I go back to uh, the homeowner or the seller, and I'm like, hey, if I get this down to this price, can we get a deal done? You know,
yeah,
I'm not going to get a. That's one thing I don't like about. I don't go to a homeowner or a seller and say I need a price reduction without having a offer backup. What I mean by that is I don't want to go to them with a price reduction and then have to go back 2 weeks later with another price
yeah, yeah,
reduction. You
absolutely.
know,
Yeah,
I say, okay, if we do this price reduction, we're going to close in 2 weeks or we're going to
yeah,
close in a week. You
yeah,
know,
and I think also this is for anyone out there that's either wholesaling or looking to wholesale. Right now, we're in a very interesting market. It's I would say most of the places where I'm at, the market's stable, but any flipper that knows what they're doing, they're discounting their projected prices, like,
yes,
right now. In fact, you should have been, like, a few months ago, for
yeah,
sure. And so, when you're running numbers, and whether you're a wholesaler or a flipper, or anything else, you need to be discounting them. Whatever the market's saying it's worth right now, you need to discount from there, like probably 10 to
Yeah.
15%. And then you
My
build numbers off of that.
Yeah, my comps, I only go back 3 months.
Yeah.
That's it. I cannot go back further, okay? 3 months only. If I have to go back further in order to find comps, then I discount and give them more. But what I try to do is my ARV with those, I try to discount at 10 to 15%.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, and I'll just say too, because I know we've talked before and stuff, and I know you do
Yep.
that, but I see deals from other realtors, and I'm like, I see them all the time where I get them in my inbox, and they're clearly pricing it like it's 6 months ago or more,
Yep.
and
And
I don't even look at theirs anymore because I'm
And I
like
see a lot of
they
that.
know what
I
they're
see a
doing.
lot of that with wholesalers too. New wholesalers, other wholesalers.
Yeah.
And, I come across where this is another reason why I've done this show as well is to help educate as many people out there as possible. So
Yep.
with our group, with our Facebook group, we have about 2,400 people now in the Facebook group. And then I'm just now building up my YouTube channel. So that helps.
Yeah.
But I specialize and by the way, if anybody wants to JV with me or just get on a phone call with me and get my opinion on a deal that they have, I'm happy to do that. Give me a call, send me an email. My email is down below, scrolling. And, I'm happy to give my opinion, but I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you whether I can sell. It's a lot harder to sell something inside Detroit than it is Metro Detroit, you know, and I have to have an even bigger discount inside the city of Detroit, you know. So not only in outside of Detroit, you're also discounting, but there's not, there's more buyers out there, out of the Metro Detroit. Right now, at this moment, there's not a lot of buyers inside Detroit because
Yep.
they're trying to be risk adverse.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
um,
which is interesting. I guess I don't specialize in Detroit, but I guess I don't see that coming down as much in price as many other areas. But
yeah.
I guess
So
only time will tell.
exactly. And Andre Kingston says, I'm a realtor and I'm listening. I'm hearing what you're saying. So that's good. Keep it that way. You know, I always see the comparative analysis that realtors want to hit. And what they do is they say, oh, let's try to hit that 10% above that and see if we can get that. And
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
If realtors, oh my gosh, if you're flipping houses or if you're a realtor and you're doing this, if you have agents that are advising like, you know, here's what this is worth, we're going to list it for 5-10% more or whatever.
Yep.
This is not the market to do that.
No.
Like
A year
your
ago,
deals,
yes. A year
if
ago, yes.
you don't price them right now, your deals will get crushed and
Yep.
no one will even take a look at them.
Because the thing is
So,
that like if I had, I'll tell you right now, if I had funds available to me to either do flips or do buy and holds, okay, like I could hit these on market listings and like cut the prices in half, okay,
yeah.
and I can guarantee you that if it's been on the market for more than 60 days, one of them is going to take it.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
the big
you get
yeah.
sellers that are on the market for 90 days and, even like 30 days, like people don't know what to do. Like, you know,
They're not used
sellers
to it.
sellers have had amnesia. Like they don't remember pre-COVID days.
I know.
So,
Like,
and which I guess it works for us as investors on the buy side.
yes.
But you got to plan for it too. Like for me as a flipper, I've got to adjust what I'm planning for my holding costs and stuff like that,
Yes.
because you're holding it longer. So you gotta bank on, like, what I'm focused on right now is I'm focused on, okay, how do I really compress the timeline of my flips? Like, my goal, and we're not there yet, but my goal is that
Yep.
all of our flips are listed within 30 days.
Wow.
And so that's what
Even
I
the
mean
big
by, like,
jobs? Even the
that's
big jobs?
we're minimizing big jobs unless there's real
Gotcha.
big profit. Like,
See,
I
see, and that's where buyers are at right now is they want carpet paint, refresh, and then
yeah.
list it. And I
So
get that.
if you want my buying criteria, or if anyone else
Yep.
wants my buying criteria, I'm looking for properties that are median price point, like 150 to 250. Obviously, some markets are higher than that. Generally below median in whatever market
Mhm.
it is, whatever that looks like. But not too far below. Like, we want entry level houses is kind of the bread and butter of what we're looking for.
So you're
The
looking
other,
for the ARV to be at that price, right?
yeah, ARV to be 150 to 250
Okay.
generally. I do still consider deals up above that, but I would be very hesitant. Like, it would have to be an amazing deal for me to do something that has ARV over 400.
Yeah, like for instance, to break that 250, like you go in Royal Oak, you'll still get an entry level house
Yep.
for 300, you
Yep.
know? So
Exactly.
100%, yeah.
So it's all relative to the market, so you got to do your research. But yeah, generally right around median, whatever entry level buyers are buying in a given market.
Mhm.
So, and then I'm also looking for smaller houses, because the advantage of smaller houses square footage wise is that as the square footage grows of projects you're doing, your budget grows
Mhm.
exponentially.
Gotcha.
So if you can stay like under 1,200 square feet or so, that's like
Mhm.
that's kind of prime time, at least for me. Um,
Yep.
I'm not sure if other house flippers are monitoring square footage like that, but generally entry level, it tends to fall in that square footage anyways.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah,
then
I would say a max is 1,800, but I would say 1,500 and under
yeah,
is entry level.
and,
So,
and as far as like the size of the job, I'm generally not interested in projects where the repairs are going to be over like 60.
okay.
Now,
Awesome.
I say that because I have 3 currently going where the rehab budgets are well over 60. I
Okay.
I've done a couple of $100,000 plus rehabs.
Gotcha.
Um, and I'll just say this ain't the market to be doing those.
Right.
Not. You if you're gonna flip, and I've
Mhm.
discouraged many people that I've spoken to from flipping right now, because this isn't the market where you get into it and you think, well, I'm gonna get like a traditional mortgage. I'm gonna live in this house for the next 2 years and renovate it over that time and then sell it.
Right.
Just my opinion. I think people that are doing that are probably going to get crushed in the coming market. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't go that route. Now, that's not to say you can't flip in this market,
Right.
but you have to be doing things to do it very quickly. Like I said,
Yes.
like, for me, what I'm
30,
looking
30
for,
days, 60
yeah,
days.
the jobs that I'm looking at is like worst case scenario 3 months,
Okay.
like out in 90 or listed in 90 days.
Yeah.
Um, So you just have to manage timelines right now. And the reason I say timelines is because, um, yes, it like as markets start cooling off, dropping, I'm not saying it's going to be like dramatically dropping. I don't know. But
Right.
as prices drop and days on market climb and stuff, the longer you hold it,
Mhm.
the more hopefully profit is lost. Like hopefully only profit. I'm saying hopefully it doesn't go negative. But the
Yeah.
longer you hold it, the faster that shrinks.
Right.
So hold time is very important. Holding a house, unless you're planning to rent it long term, that's a different
Yeah.
ballgame. That's also still a good strategy. Just got to know your numbers. But
And you
don't
gotta have multiple. You
2
gotta
years.
have multiple exit for a property too, and you gotta see. Okay, if I don't sell it within X amount of time, I'm gonna rent it out, or I'm gonna put an air. I'm gonna make an Airbnb, or I'm gonna do whatever the thing may be. I
Yep.
had one buyer that he had a property in Madison Heights, and that's what he told me. He said, we had it was a great property, and he's like, if this doesn't sell within like 60 days, then I'll take it off the market and I'll do an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Well, he got a 10K over asking price the first weekend, so he did a really good job on it. So he didn't have to do that, but that was his backup plan. You have to, in this market, you have to have a
Yeah.
backup plan. You know,
Absolutely. I
so
always
now,
I don't enter a deal unless I have 3 exit strategies.
yeah. So Andre Kingston, the realtor, actually was asking, "Do you do auctions?"
No, but I am looking to.
Okay.
That that's a whole different strategy. I'm literally like reading a book now to like learn more about auctions and get things ramped up for that because I definitely want to be doing auctions. Um,
Yeah. The thing so auctions would be great, but you're gonna have a lot. You're gonna have more holding costs with auctions because there's a nine. Was it? I think it's a 3 month or 6 month holding period where they can get the rights to actually buy the property back.
yeah, yeah,
So
the right of redemption and stuff like
right of
that.
redemption,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's I mean, there's definitely risks with auctions. Like,
Yep.
I wouldn't start there unless you have like cash to burn. Because the other
Yep.
thing with auctions, and part of why this is why it's part of why you can get good deals there is because you have to have the ability to provide them with a cashier's check
Yep.
same day for the
Yes.
amount that you're purchasing the property for. So if you're buying, maybe it's $100,000 property, like you have to, like, it can't be a situation like where what you do with the typical closing, where I'm like, have um, our private investors wire funds or whatever. Like,
Hmm.
you can't do that, or you
Yeah.
miss those deals. Like you have to like
Yeah.
have the cash, like drive to the bank, get it, and you're there. So
Now, now the good thing is if they do a redemption, they still have to pay you a nominal interest rate and give you all your money back.
yeah,
Okay. So I think it's like a 9 or 8% interest rate or something like that. Um, so, but I would not start on any work until that's over with, or you figured out that, whatever way they sign over
yeah,
the rights.
yeah. I
So,
mean, like I've known people that have done stuff like where they bought something at auction and they actually sold it same day. Like you can sell them right away, but yes,
yeah.
there are risks for whoever's buying foreclosures and at auction and stuff.
Yeah. So I guess they're saying what we're talking about is a share sale, which is that's exactly what we're talking about, the tax auction.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah, I
and
thought
then
this.
there are other auctions online that have other rules. So I guess there are, like, people will put their house up on other auction sites, things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen
that's a
some.
normal sale.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I've seen some stuff. I haven't looked heavily into buying like on other auction sites like that.
Mhm.
I'm mostly looking at, you know, deals that other people, maybe they don't have the cash for or the risk tolerance
Yeah.
for, or whatever. And some of these barriers to entry are good because it's like once you kind of crack that arena, like in
Yep.
this case, auctions, once you like break into that and you figure out how to do that, those barriers to entry are what minimize competition, which
Yep.
means there's more money to be made. So I don't know
So
if it
that's what they say. That's what they say. The harder it is to find, the harder a deal is to find. Okay, the more money you're going to make. Okay, for instance, all the people that you cold call, all the people that you get back, or say you do mailers. I'll use the mailers as an example. You send out these mailers, all the ones that you get back that say, not living there, no address found, or whatever the case may be, and their returns, that is gold. You take that stack and you skip trace those people to find and cold call them. The harder it is to find somebody,
yeah,
the better off the deal will be.
absolutely.
Yep. So 100%. They also said check out auctions.com, and it is a combination of auctions. So
Yeah.
that's good. Now, with that being said, we're coming close, but what is it? So right now you're doing flips where the ARV is between 150 and 250. Okay.
Well,
And
I'll clarify that. I
yep.
currently have flips above that, but I'm looking to get
Okay.
rid of that inventory and move into lower price.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
but yeah.
And what areas are you looking for?
So right now we're in um, Oakland, Genesee, Livingston, Wayne, uh, and I think that's all the counties we're in at the moment, but
Okay.
also looking at Macomb and Washtenaw counties. So
Gotcha.
we have a pretty big footprint. Um, I don't know if we'll
Just
continue that footprint, but I like all of those areas.
just no proper Detroit, right?
Uh, I'm not even opposed to it. I just don't know it. So I'm
Gotcha.
not I don't know Detroit very well at all. So like if I was to go in there, I'd have to like have a partner or some sort of guidance of like somebody that really knows it. And I know a couple people that do, so it wouldn't be
Yep.
out of the question. But I just don't know what I'm looking at generally.
Yeah.
So I'm not
And if
against
you
Detroit. I haven't done anything there yet. So
if you ever need help analyzing a deal or anything like that inside Detroit, by all means,
yeah,
let me know. I'll be happy to help you.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
obviously, I don't do flips or anything, but I've wholesaled many, many deals in Detroit. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Great.
Um, so with that, so now going into the future, that's your goal. Anybody here that is, watching, whether they're watching right now or whether they're watching in the future, how can they help you and how can they get in touch with you in order to help you on your journey moving forward?
Yeah. So what I guess the main thing I'm looking for that I've already mentioned is I'm always looking for money. Like
Okay.
I just always because when the buying opportunities come, the people that get them will be the ones that can fund them, and it will not be as
100%.
easy as it has been. So
Yep.
if you have money to lend, or if you have a deal that you're like, man, nobody can seem to get the financing for this, I'm
Hmm.
your guy to talk to. So, um,
Gotcha.
I'll give you my cell phone. It's 989-447-3176.
Okay.
Um, and actually, I'll put that in the chat as well.
Yeah. So
And you
you
can
said,
also find me on on Facebook, Instagram. Um, I have TikTok as well. So have some good content all over social media. So
You said 989. We'll repeat that. 989
989-447-3176.
3176.
Yep.
All right.
So yeah, I'd be happy to talk. Probably that or social media would be the best way to get a hold of
Okay.
me.
And then, so I just put it in the chat for Facebook. Okay.
Okay, great.
And so I'll put it in there for YouTube as well.
Great.
73
Oh, I almost forgot.
76.
I have a
Yes.
deal. I have a deal to
Ah,
offer. So
yes.
I know I've talked all about flipping mostly,
Oh,
but I
so
have,
before we go into this, we didn't
okay.
talk about your worst deal.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so let's
That one's
let's talk
been
about that. Let's talk about that first before we
okay.
go into
Yeah.
the deal you have now. All right.
That that one's a little bit of a long story. Just to give you an idea of how brutal this was, it was like a 14-month deal.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, it was it was that rough. Um, and so anyway, I'll keep it somewhat brief because I know we've been going a while. But essentially, what we were doing with this house, we were putting a major addition on it. And when I say
Hmm.
major, I mean major, major. We it was originally a 600 square foot, 2-bed, 1-bath house, and we were converting it to a 1,200 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath.
Okay.
Now, that sounds like a lot until I
Yeah.
tell you that we also doubled the square footage of the basement.
Oh wow.
So just imagine that. Like, you don't even have to
Yeah.
know anything about
Yeah.
construction to know how stupid that was.
Yes. Normally, when
Uh,
you do addition, you don't add to the basement.
yeah. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but I learned a lot. Learned a lot about construction. But yeah, it was
Performance.
yeah, along the way. I
Yeah.
yeah, there was there was a lot of learning lessons. I'll just say that.
Gotcha.
But but yeah, the I part of what made this the worst deal for me wasn't so much the extent of the work. It was the
Uh-huh.
extent of the work combined with having the wrong contractors.
Got it.
Um, it was on that deal that I fired my first contractor, um, which,
Hopefully, you didn't lose too much money from him.
oh, yeah, I mean, if we want to talk numbers on this,
Yeah.
I made a profit on it,
Okay.
miraculous, like miraculous. Um,
Okay.
I made a profit on this, but he for sure, and I didn't even total it all up because I knew it would have gotten me very upset thinking about it. But he for sure cost me at least 30 grand of profit.
Oh wow.
For sure. And of that 14 months, he was probably only on the job three, 3 to 4, something like that. So, but he screwed up so much from the beginning that it's like there was just significant issues. Mind you,
Yeah.
we were putting a major addition on when lumber prices were at their all-time high.
Oh my God.
You
Yes.
know, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
We had one week. I call it my $10,000 week.
Okay.
Um, it was $10,000 in surprises,
Okay.
not budgeted
Wow.
for.
No. No.
Uh, yeah, that was a rough time.
Yes.
But it was a lot of learning lessons. I learned a lot about how to negotiate with contractors. I learned about a lot about rehab costs.
Hmm.
Um, and just generally like managing the deals, and like I had no idea what I was doing when I started. I was just like, I mean, it was kind of like what I said about marketing and starting to
Yeah.
wholesale and stuff. It was just like, okay, just do it and I'll figure it out. And
Yep.
so I this was probably next level because like this this was a major project.
Yep.
So yeah, so we had that deal for 14 months altogether. Three three of those months were delays because of rain. We
Okay.
had one of the rainiest summers on record, and it delayed us. I counted. I had delayed us
Wow.
by 3 months, literally.
That's crazy.
Um,
So
so
where was this deal at? You don't have to
this
give me
was
the address, just rough area.
yeah, this was Genesee County. It was in Burton,
Okay.
which is just east of Flint. So
I actually am just talking to with another wholesaler about a deal in Burton right now.
okay,
So,
cool. Well,
um,
let's talk.
yeah, most definitely.
If you're able to get it under contract and stuff, we should definitely talk.
Yeah, yeah, I believe we'll be able to get it under contract by tomorrow, hopefully. So,
Oh, cool.
um,
Great.
but the original price they want, I told him he needs to come back and get it lower. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. That's great.
yeah. So with that being said, you have a, um, you know, so that was your worst deal, and you know, you miraculously, you said you made a profit on that.
Yeah.
Was 12 grand profit, 30 grand
Yeah.
profit,
You nailed it. 12 grand.
12 grand?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I threw the
Yeah.
number out there.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
For 14 months of work. It was the hardest 12 grand I've ever made.
And
But
obviously that wasn't your only job, so that you didn't make 12 grand for the whole year.
yeah. Yep.
So,
But yeah, so I will say when I closed that deal, I quit my job though.
okay.
So I had other deals going by that point and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like I said, 14 months is a long haul. A lot changes
100%.
in a year.
Yeah.
So, but there was a lot of good learning lessons with that. And I guess if there's one piece of advice that I have from that deal, there's
Mhm.
many. Like we could do a whole nother episode just on this deal for sure. But um, but if there was like one piece of advice that I think would be useful for everyone
Yep.
is get out of your comfort zone. Like I've heard it said like um no what is it? About like how there's no growth happening in your comfort zone, or there's
Um,
no how does it go? I'm drawing a blank on it.
yeah. So I know the one saying, but I don't think it's the
Oh
same
yeah.
saying you're thinking of.
There's no growth in your comfort zone, and there's definitely no comfort in your growth zone.
Oh wow. I've never heard
Yeah.
of that.
And so anyway, I heard it a long time ago, but I that really stuck with me. And I will say of those 14 months, I I was not comfortable one single day. So, but
That's
there is an
awesome.
advantage to that. Like I learned so much.
Yep.
Like hopefully that gives you an idea though, like thinking about that quote and the idea that for 14 straight months and honestly well after that, I'm still not comfortable any day
Yeah.
when I'm doing stuff. Like I'm still learning and still pushing myself beyond what I think I can. And
Yep.
so it's like, but you can tell there's so much growth happening because of that. So
If you want to grow, and if you want to make, well, not just money, but be wealthy, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
yep,
Period.
absolutely.
if you are comfortable and just comfortable, you are not. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay, which means, whether I'm getting on the phone all the time, once I get comfortable being on the phone, now I got to switch it up and do something else and hire somebody else to take care of the comfortable job that I just had,
Yeah.
and process into something else that's uncomfortable for me.
Yep.
So, or start doing flipping, which is more stressful for me because, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, but um, so with that being said, that was awesome with your. It wasn't awesome your worst deal, but thank you for sharing your worst deal.
Yeah.
And you said you have a deal right now that
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah.
looking.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. So, the property address is 854 Major Street.
Okay.
That's in Flint. 854 Major Street. ARV, we're looking at about 55,000. Repairs right around 20,000. Asking 15,000. And I'm wholesaling this. So
Okay.
talk to me about that. Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
So
The
you're
median
asking. Hold on. You're asking
15, yeah.
15K. Okay.
And where this gets really interesting is the median rents are $1,000 a month.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That's a 3 bedroom?
Yes. Yeah, that it's 3 bed, 2 bath.
Oh, 2 bath. Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Brick or frame?
It's frame.
Frame. Okay. Does that matter too much in Flint? I know it does in Detroit.
No, not especially if you're renting, like it
Okay.
really doesn't matter. I'll say Flint is a great cash flow market. In
Got
fact,
it.
I've seen many places like nationally where they list Flint as like the number one cash flow market in the country.
Yep.
Um, just because it's like, where can you get $1,000 a month with less than $50,000 into a deal?
Yeah. Well,
Like
that's the same way.
just
That's the
consider.
same way. That's the same way Detroit is too. So
Yeah,
Detroit's the same exact way.
yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
Detroit, Pontiac, Flint,
Yep.
similar. You gotta know where you're going. I would say this is a decent area. Um, really solid cash flow, good neighbors,
Yep.
that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean it's like just consider all in if you have 35,000 into it, where can you get $1,000 a month cash flow for 35,000?
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
you have a little bit of equity too,
Yep.
you
Is it
know.
vacant or is it rented?
It's vacant right now.
Okay. Does it need a lot of work?
The main thing is the roof. Um,
Okay.
it definitely needs a new roof. There's a leak in it.
Okay.
Excuse me. Hasn't been a ton of damage. Like I said, only about 20,000 in repairs, which is I'll say that's a smaller rehab than I've ever done.
Yeah.
So, the rest of the house is in pretty good shape, so I
Okay.
would say I would say it's the roof, some drywall repair, and
Yeah.
it's more or less ready to rent.
Awesome.
So,
Well, if you have pictures, I don't know if you do or not. So, but if you
yeah,
do, go ahead and post it in the group and see if you get any replies. Or if you want, if you want me to post it out to my email list and you want to JV with me, I'm happy to do that. Just send me all the information in email. So, like
yeah,
all the photos and everything. So,
for sure.
and we can kind of go from there. So,
Sounds good.
um, and that goes for anybody out there that is looking to JV on any deals. I'll be happy to look at them. If I feel that they're good for my buyers list, I'll put out an email blast and put them out to my buyers and see where we can go from there. So that goes for anybody out there. My number is right here. This 586-307-4765. You can call, text, And my email has been floating down at the bottom, randybuyshousesmi@gmail.com. So, hit me up, call me, text me. If you are new to wholesaling, if you are new to real estate in general, and you want to hop on a call, we're happy to do that. I can either hop on a call, hop on a video call with you. We can record the video call, and we can talk about hopes, admirers, and all of that stuff. And I am just giving my open and honest opinion, like I do here, and like I do every Monday at 8 p.m. So, all right. With that, is there anything else you want to leave everybody with?
No, just get outside your comfort zone. That's the biggest thing. And I hope that's your takeaway, and you take that to heart and start taking action.
That's awesome. Appreciate. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
And then let's all do some deals together and go from there. So I want to say thank you to Michael Hasso for coming on here, for telling us his journey. And if you do want to reach him, we did put his number in the side chat as well. But just in case you don't have it from then and you stay till the end, 989-447-3176. You can also reach him on Facebook under Michael Hasso. And he's very prominent in most of the groups. And actually, that's where I met you, was actually at one of the meetup groups. So I think I first met you at the McVee's pub with the meetup there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was at a meetup in Troy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So it was either McVee's pub or it was the MREI, the one that's actually this Thursday. So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was MREI.
Yeah. So it was that one. And yeah, it's, if you want to go to any of these meetups, go out, see where they're at, and honestly, just go out and start meeting people, introduce yourself. So
yeah, network like crazy.
100%. Thank you for everybody who's joined. I appreciate it. See you next Monday. Don't know who's going to be on here yet, but we will figure it out, and we will be here whether I have somebody or not. Have a great day. Mike, if you want to stick around for a minute. So,
Yep,
all right.
will do.